Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 65 of the World of Sports podcast. I am your host, Diego Sandoval, and joined with me, as always, is my co-host, Logan Ring. Logan, say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody?
We did not have an episode last week, just things got in the way, but we're back and better than ever. We are going to be talking about the NFL Divisional round of the playoffs after a pretty hectic. There were some blowouts, but there were some good games on Wild Card Weekend. So we're going to talk about our picks for the divisional round, and then we're going to reveal our NBA All-Stars, our reserves. We revealed our starters in the last episode. We're going to go through those. One of mine has changed, so that's just like a slight tweak, but it doesn't make much of a difference. The guy that I replaced will end up making the game anyways. We're going to go through our West and East reserves. And then, that's about it. Again, nothing in the MLB. I actually have a little bit of an update I'll say after the intro, but they are still in a lockout. Before we get started, follow us on all of our social medias. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks so much. Hit like, hit subscribe, and you can go click the links in our bio for our Instagram, Spotify. All of our links are down there. And then if you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, thank you so much. You can head over to our Instagram and click the link in our bio to find all of our other links at TWOS podcast. All right, before we jump into the NFL divisional round, the MLB had their first meeting with the MLB Players Association last week. Nothing really happened. It was just kind of both sides came up and basically said the same thing that they've been saying for months. So there was no progress made. However, on Monday, so it is Friday, January 21st, currently, this upcoming Monday, the Players Union is expected to make a counteroffer to the MLB's original proposal. So this is their second meeting since the lockout. They're going to make a proposal. Again, we don't know the details. That's all pretty much behind closed doors, even the original proposal almost. So we don't really know what to expect, but hoping that they can resolve it in the next month, that hopefully, because then you have time for free agency to still kind of happen, and then spring training will be right around the corner in March. So hoping they can figure it out. That's it for the MLB. Again, not much to say. We're kind of in the dark as a fan base, which is unfortunate, but that's usually how this stuff goes. The NFL. Last week, if you missed the wild card predictions, I believe we both did pretty well. I think I missed one and you missed two. So pretty solid wild card Raiders. Yeah, I felt like I'm okay with missing the Raiders. That was a great game. Came down to the wire like most Raider games did this year. And then we had the Steelers versus Chiefs. Wasn't close at all, but again, that's what everybody expected. Patriots Bills absolutely stomped on the Patriots. I enjoyed watching that because it was kind of like the Bills were like, hey, remember the last 15 years? Here we go. That was great to see. In the NFC, the Buccaneers torched the Eagles. Wasn't close. Rams Cardinals, the Rams just blew them out.
I was disappointed in that one.
I really expected that to be a better game, but hey, I was rooting for the Rams, so I was happy about the outcome. And Cowboys Niners was a great game. Ended on a bit of a controversy, even though it's not a controversy. Like, Cowboys fans want to say the ref screwed them, but the ref literally did what he had to do. And Dak messed up by giving the ball to his center instead of the ref. But
yeah,
whatever. The ref basically, if you missed it, he came in after every possession, the ref has to touch the ball. And what happened is they completed a pass with he ran a QB draw, first of all, with 15 seconds left, which is never the right thing to do. And basically he got 15 yards, but he had to set the ball, give it to the ref, and they had to snap it, and it just didn't get off in time, and the game was over. So the Cowboys are out. Thank God. The Niners are moving on. And that sets up the divisional round this weekend of the Cincinnati Bengals heading to Tennessee to take on the fresh off the bye week Titans. The 49ers heading to Lambeau to take on the other number 1 seed, the Green Bay Packers. The Los Angeles Rams will go to Tampa Bay to take on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. And the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills will play in a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. Yeah, those are all great games. Let's start in the AFC. We've got the Titans taking on the Bengals. The Bengals are an interesting team to predict because they could have games where they look absolutely unstoppable, but then they have games where they'll let the other team in it, just like we saw last week against the Raiders. And to be honest, the Bengals that game shouldn't have been that close against the Raiders. They let the Raiders back in the game, and credit to the Raiders, that's what they've done all season. But the Bengals dominated for the majority of that game. And the Titans, we haven't seen them in the playoffs yet. They played well enough in the regular season to get that bye, and I think that bye helped them a lot. And I think that the Titans are the better team, and I think the defining factor of this game is going to be the return of Derrick Henry. I just don't see a world where he doesn't just rush for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think they would be playing him if there was any chance that he's like not at least like 90%, because an injury to him again is going to set back the whole of next year, which would just not be good at all, obviously. So I think the Titans are going to win this game too. I am excited for this one because Joe Burrow, I think his ceiling is so high on basically any game he plays. He threw for like 550 yards the other week. So, I mean, I think this will be an exciting one, but I just feel like the Titans have more weapons. And with Derrick Henry coming back, they were successful without him. And he's obviously amazing. So I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, I think, is a guy that we're going to be watching dominate for a long time. He just has that, I don't know, he has a swagger about him, and he's also like a really perfect NFL quarterback, I feel like.
Yeah.
And they surrounded him with the weapons. Everyone criticized the Jamar Chase pick, me included. I 100% did. I thought they had to get an offensive lineman to protect him, but it obviously worked out. It's not even close. He's the offensive rookie of the year. Anyways, we both have the Titans in that one. Over in the other AFC game, it's going to be a good one. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills in Kansas City. This should be a good one. What do you think about this matchup?
This one was so hard. I changed my answer right before the podcast started. I'm going with the Chiefs. I could see it going either way. This was really, really hard. I think the Bills are an amazing team. I just think the Chiefs have a little bit more experience and playing at home too. I feel like if it was in New York, then I would have picked the Bills probably. But I mean, this is one that I'm super excited for. I feel like the Chiefs are going to show up as the team that we think they are instead of the one that we saw for some games of the regular season where they look terrible, because they've definitely found their way in this, I guess, entire year. It just was up and down until the last few weeks. But playoff Mahomes is real. Playoff Josh Allen is real also. So that's really exciting for them to go against each other. I just feel like the Chiefs have the more experienced team. But I could see this one being a one possession game basically the entire time.
Yeah, you get a feeling that these are the two teams that are going to be the heads of the AFC for years to come, just with the way that they're built. And I think this is going to be a ridiculously high scoring game. And, watch it be 17-13 or whatever. But the two teams that they faced last week, each of these teams, we're in the playoffs largely because of their defense. The Steelers and Patriots had solid defenses all year. The Bills put up 47 and the Chiefs put up 42. Like these teams don't care how good your defense is. They're going to put up points. And I think that it's going to be that game. And if it is that game, I'm never going to bet against Patrick Mahomes in a shootout because he can do everything and he's just ridiculous. So I'm also going with the Chiefs in this one. I just in Kansas City, I think makes a big difference. It's not going to be as cold than it would be in Buffalo, but Arrowhead is a very hard stadium to play in. And I think the Chiefs have that experience, like you said, that I think that they take this one, and it's going to be a Chiefs-Titans AFC Championship game, if we're correct. Switching on over to the NFC, we have the San Francisco 49ers making their way to Lambeau to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. I just don't see a team from California marching into Lambeau and beating the Packers in that weather, in that stadium. They've just looked so good all year. I'm going with the Packers. I don't have much else to say, although the Niners are a scrappy team that could put up a fight.
Yeah, I would have, if you just look at the names, I mean, I would have picked the Packers easily, but I mean, I want to give the 49ers their props with the division they played in. They definitely deserve to be here. And I underestimated them last week, and I obviously lost that game because I picked the Cowboys. But I mean, I'm excited for this one just to see Aaron Rodgers in his element almost, which is kind of fun at Lambeau Field. But yeah, I don't see the 49ers coming in and playing in that weather with, yeah, like you said, they're a California team. And I think they're just the worst team also. So I'm definitely going with the Packers.
You think they're the worst team in the?
No.
Oh,
out of the Packers.
Okay. All right, just making sure.
No.
Yeah. Rodgers will win this game, and we'll see if he can figure it out in the NFC Championship game. He's done it once in his whole career and lost there quite a few. But that's next week. Now to the final matchup of the divisional round. Could be the game of the week. All of these could be the game of the week, if we're being completely honest. At this point in the season, every single game is going to be a great one. But I'm really looking forward to this one, the Los Angeles Rams versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I was conflicted on this one because you know the old saying, never bet against Brady. But I'm going to stick with the Rams. That's my pick in this one. They were the team I picked to win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season, and so far they're still in it, but I think this is going to be their biggest test. I just really believe in this Rams defense against the Buccaneers. They have the guys that can get to Brady. Brady's not mobile. Brady lost a lot of weapons recently. Antonio Brown just left. Chris Godwin out for the season with an injury. So he's very heavily relying on Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski. And Gronk might cause some problems for the Rams, but Jalen Ramsey can do what he does against Mike Evans. I believe enough in this Rams offense, passing offense in particular, that I think they can expose a relatively weak Tampa secondary. And yeah, I think Brady goes down, and I'm going with the Rams.
I completely agree with everything you just said. But I just am not going to bet against Brady again. I did it last year. I think I picked him to the Bucs to lose in like the first round or whatever. They won the Super Bowl. I'm not going to bet against him. I really don't have anything other than that. I think the Rams are an amazing team.
It's a perfectly logical reasoning.
It's like LeBron for the last 10 years or whatever, where it's like, oh, the Raptors are the number 1 seed. They've won all this. It's LeBron, and then they sweep. You know, and the Rams, I honestly think, are a better team, but Brady in the playoffs, I'm just not going to bet against him right now. So that's honestly my only reasoning. But I'm glad we have a difference.
Yeah. Part of me is doing it so that my prediction will become true. But I don't know. I like this Rams team, and I think they went all in for this one season. So if it doesn't work out, that might be a problem. Yeah, there you have it. We both have Titans, Packers, Chiefs. I have the Rams. You have the Buccaneers. And that would, honestly, if the Buccaneers won, Brady Rodgers in Lambeau would be a phenomenal game. You know, we'll see. Should be an interesting and fun NFL divisional round of the playoffs.
Who were your Super Bowl picks at the start of the year?
It was Rams.
I know it's
Rams Chiefs.
Okay. Mine was Packers, which is not a bad pick, and then I picked the Browns. So
and you picked the Browns to win, so that's unfortunate.
It was a mistake.
Yeah, a lot of things went wrong in Cleveland this year.
Yeah.
Especially the fact that Odell already has more touchdowns with the Rams than he did in his whole career with the Browns.
We don't have to talk about that.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Just sad.
Are you guys moving on from Baker Mayfield this offseason?
No, we're playing him next year. He was never healthy this year, so I want to give him sort of a pass. he was never 100%.
Yeah, but he also was never even competent.
No, he was genuinely a bad quarterback this year, but I don't want to just give up on him. I feel like if we give up on him this year, we're not gonna get better. Really, I think
it should be interesting because if I were the Browns, I would turn into a Ravens type of offense with the offensive line that you guys have and with the running backs that you guys have. I feel like it just makes sense to be super run heavy and not have to rely on the quarterback's arm as much.
Yeah, I mean, if we had Lamar Jackson, that would be nice also.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Move on, maybe take Marcus Mariota from the Raiders. That could be interesting.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, that's it for the NFL divisional round. We've got some great games lined up, and it should be fun to watch. Let's move on to our final segment of this podcast, and that's our NBA All-Stars for this season. The All-Star game is right around the corner. And here are our reserves. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we revealed our starters. There was one change to mine. In the West, I now have Steph Curry and Ja Morant as my starting guards. LeBron, Karl-Anthony Towns, Nikola Jokic are still my starters. And then in the East, Trae Young, DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Durant, Giannis, Joel Embiid. I don't remember exactly what yours were, but I'm sure it's somewhat similar. I think you might have had Rudy Gobert instead of Towns.
Yeah, I did.
And then
not thinking about the fit, just
yeah. All right, for sure. So those were our starters. So those won't be mentioned in this episode. Well, let's start with the West with our two guards, our two guard reserves. I'm saying Luka. I said Luka last episode as a starter. Ja took him over, in my opinion. I just think with the way his team is playing, with the way he's been playing, I put Ja in the starting spot. But Luka's obviously going to be an all-star as well. Both those guys deserve spots, and whether they're a starter or reserve, it's not going to make much of a difference.
Yeah, I had Donovan Mitchell instead of Luka before. And part of that is because of how good the Jazz are. And the Grizzlies are a better team now than even the Jazz, which is insane to say, but the third best record in the league, you got to go Ja there. Mm-hmm. And then, I got Booker as my second spot as the guard. The Suns I think they have the best record in the league, and Booker's a big part of that. And obviously, I mean, you can say he's the best player on the team. It's him and Chris Paul. Who cares? He's putting up 24.5 points a game, almost 5 rebounds, 5 assists. And then he's shooting efficiently too. He's shooting the best year from 3 that he's had his entire career, which is pretty good. And he just fits with that team really well. So it's exciting to, I guess, see his development. And I think with Chris Paul, it's not really about the stats. It's about the impact. And I think Booker's kind of buying into that also. His points are a little bit down, but the efficiency is better, and that's helping his team more. I think he definitely deserves this spot. You could put him in the starting lineup also. I mean, the starting lineup doesn't matter at all. Who cares? Right. But I think those are my 2 reserve guards right now.
Who was it? Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker?
Yeah, because I put Ja in the starting lineup.
And then where's Luka?
Luka's
just one of your extras?
Yeah.
Okay. So Luka and Donovan Mitchell were my 2 guards officially, but I also have Booker as one of my extra guys. So it doesn't matter where you put them. They're all-star reserves. Luka, Donovan, Booker. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple for those 3 guys. It's their impact on their team is massive, and they're putting up the numbers necessary to be all-stars. They're all in playoff spots. Definitely the Jazz and the Suns. I'm pretty sure the Mavs are like the 6th seeds or something.
They've had I think they've won 10 of their last 12. So I think like the 5th or 6th, they're doing pretty well.
They're playing well. So those guys are pretty much, I don't want to say locks, but let's move on to the front court of the West. The guy you have as a starter, Rudy Gobert, is going to be an all-star this year. I mean, you can't say enough about his impact and just the way that Jazz team basically relies on him in most circumstances. It's like, oh yeah, our 7-footer's there. It doesn't matter. Like he does pretty much everything you would want out of a defensive big. I mean, he doesn't necessarily defend the perimeter as well, but 16 points, 15 rebounds, 2.3 blocks a game. He's a no-brainer for an all-star spot.
Yeah, and the Jazz are struggling when he doesn't play, and it's clear his impact, especially defensively. Even offensively too, he's played probably the best season of his career, but defensively it's night and day when these teams don't have him or have him. So yeah, he definitely deserves to be there. If you don't have him in the starting spot, it's fine. There's the third Western Conference starter is definitely up in the air. I think that could definitely change. But another guy I have who definitely deserves to be an all-star, you can look at the stats. It doesn't look great, but then you dive deeper into it, it's clear. That's Draymond Green.
Yep.
Just the counting stats, 8 points per game, 8 rebounds, 7.5 assists. That might not sound great, but when you also factor in that he's just so clearly the best defensive player this season, and then helping the best defensive team in the league, it's the same thing with Rudy Gobert. When he's not there, the Warriors are genuinely a bad team. With Steph Curry, with Andrew Wiggins, with all these players.
Yeah, they lost to
a bad team.
They lost to the Pacers last night, who were missing everybody.
Missing their best 5 players, and they lost to him. And Draymond Green, if he was there, there's no doubt in my mind they would have blown them out. So his impact, especially defensively, he completely runs their defense, and their loss without him, I think he deserves a spot in the All-Star team for sure.
Yeah. I kind of went off the board a little bit for this one. Karl-Anthony Towns was in my starting lineup. I'm assuming he's an all-star for you?
Yeah, he's one of my reserves.
Okay. So I kind of didn't know where to go because I have Draymond, Rudy Gobert, and then Cat is in my starting lineup. I went with Jonas Valanciunas.
Oh, wow.
18, 12, 52% shooting. He's having I feel like he's on the Pelicans, which is obviously a hit. Like, he's not going to get much attention, but he's having a really good season. Like, he's playing good basketball. And I feel like if you look that way, because you look at kind of the people that are getting votes, I don't know if I think Andrew Wiggins is necessarily an all-star. I don't know if DeAndre Ayton's hurt. So who knows? Carmelo Anthony's not an all-star. Anthony Davis is hurt. Paul George is hurt.
Yeah, I have Paul George in here, but I know he's going to be hurt. So
okay, that's like Jonas Valanciunas is replacing Paul George.
Yeah.
So it would be Paul George 100%, but since he's not going to be at the game, I went with Valanciunas because I didn't really know where to go, and I just kind of looking at guys, and he has had a surprisingly good season, and I feel like he deserves some credit. And we're going to have a lot of guys this year, I feel like, that are kind of all-stars by based off of health and safety protocols or injury. So I went with Valanciunas for his replacement.
I think if I had to do a replacement, first of all, I'll just talk about Paul George real quick. I mean, he's putting up 25 points a game, and he was helping the Clippers be an actual competent team without Kawhi. And when he's been out, they've been just barely below 500, I think. So his impact is definitely there. I think he would 100% deserve an all-star spot if he didn't get hurt, but I think they're just going to put him in there just because someone else is going to get it anyway. Sort of maybe like an Anthony Davis type situation. I don't know if he's going to be named an all-star, but not playing. But if I had to go with a reserve, and I hate to do this, but I think I got to go with a third Warrior, and that's Andrew Wiggins for here. Valanciunas is a good pick too. I just feel like Wiggins, he's putting up the stats, but it's also translating to wins. He's having the most efficient season of his career, putting up 18 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, playing really good defense, shooting 49% from the field and 42% from 3. It's just a perfect small forward for the Warriors. And if he can figure it out with Steph and Clay, I mean, that's deadly right there, because Wiggins has never really shown the ability to knock down threes until he got to Golden State. And obviously, when he was drafted, people were like, oh, this is the Maple Jordan, like the Canadian Michael Jordan. Obviously, he didn't live up to that. But since he's gotten to the Warriors, he's been the second option usually. But now that Clay's back, third option. And I think that's perfect for him. And he's having a great season. I don't think he'd be an all-star without having these injuries, but I think he deserves that spot with it.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting guy to watch going forward, because I don't think the Warriors even know what his role is going to be with Clay coming back, because you've seen since Clay's come back, he's played like 20, 25 minutes a game, but he's taking enough shots to like play the full game. I think he's like taking the most shots per 48, and it's like not really close right now because he's taking like 15 shots in 20 minutes. But it should be interesting to see. how Wiggins fits in once Clay is playing his full kind of time, but he's definitely a guy that's improved a lot, and you can tell that this team is definitely where he kind of belongs. Yeah, so those are the three forwards. Gobert, Valanciunas, and Draymond for me. And then yours were Wiggins, Towns, and Draymond.
Yep.
All right, and then the two extras. I already said one of them was Devin Booker, so Booker's one of mine. And then my last one, I think just he deserves to be an all-star game because of his impact and everything that he does, and it's Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
He's an all-star. He does what he needs to do to win, and that's what you're looking for, especially with Chris Paul at this point in his career. He's just trying to win, and to be able to win while also putting up a double-double every night, that I think that deserves an all-star selection.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way. I had Luka as another reserve. He was one of your normal ones, which is, I mean, it doesn't really matter at all. They're both in the all-star game. But I just want to point out Chris Paul's assist numbers. He has 10, which is the same as James Harden. He has 2.2 turnovers, and James Harden has 4.8. That's a really, really big difference. Chris Paul's playmaking is still the best in the league, in my opinion. The way he takes care of the basketball and the way he runs the offense is just so much better than almost everyone else. He's just a pure point guard, which, I mean, it's definitely weird in the game to have just a pure point guard now. Like Steph Curry is a shooting guard who also plays point guard. But it's really fun to watch Chris Paul just have the success in his career, because it looked like it was going downhill. And I mean, obviously he's turned that around. So I think he definitely deserves this spot. And then Luka, you already covered, but he obviously deserves it too.
Yeah. Yeah, not much else to say. Those are our West reserves. We pretty much have the same mix of people. I think there was one difference in there, or one. It's just who's going to start, but again, that doesn't mean anything. Except for who gets to draft the teams. By the way, LeBron just absolutely took over the fan voting.
That is crazy.
Nowhere.
He jumped Curry by like 1 million votes. It was insane.
Yeah. So it's looking like it's going to be LeBron versus Durant.
I think right now that's what it looks like.
I think that's what it is now.
But at the same time, Durant's hurt, so
that's true. So they might go.
Who knows what'll happen?
LeBron and Giannis, those are two entertaining guys. They've drafted
that was
against
a fun
each other
one
before. Still one of my favorite clips ever is, I'd like to propose a Russell Westbrook for Ben Simmons trade.
That's just perfect now.
All right, let's move on to the East. There are a couple of locks in the East, in my opinion. And I think it's two guards, and that's Zach Levine and James Harden. To be honest, I wouldn't be mad if you put them in the starting lineup. Those are two guys that have had very good seasons, and their teams are very good. They're locks.
If you don't have those guys, then I don't know what you're doing. Get well soon, Zach Levine. I think he's totally fine. There was no structural damage in his knee when he got hurt, but the Bulls have not looked fantastic without him. They beat the Cavs the other day, which was a big win, but other than that, it's not looking great.
And James Harden's numbers are only going to go up with Kevin Durant out, so that's gonna help his case. But he deserves to be an all-star, anyways.
Yeah, he clearly deserves to be an all-star. He's tied with Chris Paul with leading the league in assists. His play style is really interesting because when Kevin Durant is out, he starts shooting the ball more, and obviously he's always playmaking. But it's really interesting with him and Kyrie out there, because Kyrie is not the biggest playmaker. He's done pretty well this season moving the ball, but obviously a small sample size. But I'm excited to see how those two work together, because KD was clearly the best player on that team any game he played. So we'll see what James Harden and Kyrie can do, if they can really keep up with, I guess, the pace that they've been going at, because KD's out for like at least 5 or 6 weeks. So that's a pretty long time.
Yeah, KD's out of the MVP conversation, in my opinion. I don't think you can miss that much.
I think he was leading before too.
Yeah, probably. But now you turn to, I guess we don't need to talk about this right now, but Giannis, Jokic. I don't think Steph is at the level of those guys, but other people do. Even LeBron, if the Lakers turn it around, could have a case. But if the
Gotta
Lakers
get
don't,
that record up.
yeah, if the Lakers don't turn it around, it's probably not. But yeah, that's a discussion for another episode. Let's move on to the front court. Who is your first front court member?
So the guy I think deserves to replace KD in the starting lineup. I don't have an extra reserve. Actually, I have one I can list, but he would be a reserve if it wasn't for KD being out. I got Jimmy Butler in there. I think his impact on the team, yes, he's got the stats at 22 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, playing amazing defense. But the Heat have been so good when he plays, and his impact is just clearly there. He's not as much of a shooter as maybe you'd like, but he does literally everything else amazing. He doesn't turn the ball over. He play makes really well. He leads the defense on this team. I know that Bam Adebayo gets a lot of credit for it, but Jimmy Butler is really the one who's telling people to slide over, get into spots, and disrupting passing lanes, doing whatever. So I think he 100% deserves this spot. You could go with Jason Tatum also. If you want to, you can talk about Jason Tatum. I'm sure he's in there also, but it's those two spots that I think would deserve that starting spot now.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I didn't even take that into account in terms of somebody has to replace KD. So that changes things a little bit, but also, yeah, it doesn't matter. I have both of these guys. Right. I had them listed in my reserves, and that's how they're going to get named, because KD's going to get named the starter and then somebody will replace him. So, I mean, yeah, you said it. Jimmy Butler, just his impact is way too high on a good team. So he deserves it. Obviously, he missed some time, but it's Jimmy Butler. They're not going to really care. And then Jason Tatum, he's had a disappointing shooting season for sure, but he's still averaging 25, 8.5, and almost 4. So he's having a solid year. It's just the one, downfall of him this season are definitely his shooting percentages. But again, you look at it as it's the All-Star game. You have the best players out there, the most exciting players out there. He's going to make the team. He's an All-Star. I mean, his team is what's their record?
I think they're around 500.
Yeah. So they are currently the 9 seed. Yeah, they're 23-23. Not a good season for the Celtics, but I don't know. They don't have it figured out at all.
Yeah.
But it's tough to say that it's all Jason Tatum's fault. He's a great player and he's putting up numbers. He's going to be an all-star.
Yeah. I don't know it's another topic for another day with the Celtics, but it's a weird team with him and Jaylen Brown.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. I'm not saying they got to blow it up, but something on the roster's got to change. But anyways, my third front court spot, and there's actually 4. So, I guess we might as well just name it. But if it wasn't for the KD injury, I'm going with Jared Allen. I think he 100% deserves this. I think if you watch Cavs games, you completely understand the impact that he has. Defensively, he's huge. But offensively, he's putting up 16.5 points on 70% shooting. That's the highest points per game shooting that well in NBA history. That's a really big deal. And with the defensive impact that he's had with Evan Mobley in that front court, Lauri Markkanen, yes, they say they have 3 7-footers. Lauri Markkanen is not a great defender. So in the paint, it's really Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. And Mobley's been playing great defensively, but Jarrett Allen's also there. And I know he's teaching him a lot also. So his pick and roll with Darius Garland is one of the best in the league if you look at it for points generated. So it's a really exciting offense. If you watch the Cavs, if you don't, then you might think that that's a joke, but the Cavs have been a really fun team. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Cavs fan. People have enjoyed watching them. And the Cavs are also the 4th seed right now in the East. So, I think they 100% deserve an all-star spot right here.
Yeah, he's a great pick. My third front court member is Jarrett Allen as well. Yeah, you said it. He's super efficient on the offensive side of the ball, and he's got a huge defensive impact. There's no reason why the Cavs shouldn't have an all-star. I wouldn't be mad if either of their top 2 guys were all-stars. But I just think Jared Allen, his impact is what puts him into an all-star spot.
Yeah.
And now the extras. I am going to go. I know one we both have for sure, and that's Fred VanVleet. he's had a good season. The Raptors aren't a good team necessarily, but he's averaging 22, 7 and 5. I know you love to call him overrated and
Not anymore. Not anymore. I'm not going to disrespect him this year. He's had a great year.
He's had a very good season. He had one stretch where he was just scoring out of his mind. And he's been a consistent part of a not very good Raptors team, albeit,
they've been better though.
But they're
gotten healthy.
Right. They're getting healthy, they're getting better, and he's a big part of their recent kind of success.
Yeah, Fred VanVleet, you look at him, you say, oh wow, he's an amazing point guard with his playmaking, his shooting. But I think what makes him stand out is how good defensively he is. He's one of the best off-ball defenders in the league, and on-ball he's good too. But he gets into so many passing lanes, and he disrupts the offense a lot. If you put him on another point guard or just guard in general, I mean, he's not super tall, but he's a strong guy. He's able to stop a lot of people, and I think that's what makes him stand out. And then offensively, putting up 22 points a game pretty efficiently this season. Without him, the Raptors are so bad, and I think that impact is what's really going to make him stand out. But yeah, he 100% deserves his spot. Now, the second guard, or I guess it will be just a guard, but it's really just a wild card spot. The guards are so much more deserving in this conference. Do you need 3 front court reserve spots? So that's the only reason why a guy like Jarrett Allen would be in there over Darius Garland or something like that. But for my second one, I'm going with LaMelo Ball. I'd love to put Darius Garland in here. But I think this is what's going to happen. It's pretty arguable if he deserves it over Garland, but it's the fan voting is clear. I mean, I think the coaches are going to look at LaMelo Ball and be like, he deserves to be an all-star. And he does. And if there's an injury, I think Darius Garland's going to be in there. But I think LaMelo Ball is going to take this last spot here. 19 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists, a steal and a half a block. I mean, that's really good production from your point guard. And I mean, the Hornets have been a lot better this season. You can just see that his development it's coming. And he's still only averaging 32 minutes a game. I don't know why the coach doesn't play him very much. He only got 29 minutes a game last season. But I mean, it's working, and his impact is clear on the court. I mean, defensively, he can get a lot better, but I mean, that length, he's able to get a lot of steals, and I mean, he's been pretty good on both sides of the court. But offensively, you can just see the flashes of stardom already starting, and I mean, he's already a super exciting player. He's really popular, so I think he's going to take this spot.
Yeah, I think LaMelo definitely deserves it. I mean, you look at him and you realize that he's a all around very good basketball player. Like he doesn't have many holes. He's not amazing on the defensive side, but he's good. Like he gets the job done, especially as a point guard. Yeah, Darius could sneak in, but I just think it makes more sense to have LaMelo Ball in the All-Star game. That's what the people are going to want. He's the more exciting, I think, player. And, you know, just like LeVar Ball said, he's the best ball, and nobody believed him. And look where we are now. Yeah, I just don't see a world where LaMelo Ball, they don't capitalize on having his fame, his popularity in the involved in All-Star weekend.
Yeah, and so with the Kevin Durant injury, I'm honestly not sure if you have to replace him with another front court player. If you don't, I'm just going to talk about Darius Garland for a second, but I know there's another name that we both have that we would probably replace him with if that's the case. Darius Garland is putting up 20 points a game and 8 assists. He's shooting really efficiently, and the Cavs team runs through him. If he is not playing, the Cavs just look a little bit lost. And defensively, yes, the Cavs are incredible, but offensively, if they didn't have Darius Garland this year, without Sexton, now without Rubio, he's the only guard that can really generate the offense that this team needs to win games, even with how good their defense is. His playmaking is incredible. His shooting is really, really good. He's going on a stretch, which is really interesting, where I think he's putting up like 12 assists a game in his last 10 with like 2 turnovers. That's elite production right there. He's really making his case for All-Star. I mean, he's making that push. And also Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, Lauri Markkanen, they would not have the stats they do without Darius Garland setting him up. Him and Jarrett Allen, I think, are the highest lob threat in the entire NBA. They throw like 2 or 3 lobs every single game. But yeah, I mean, if there is a replacement, he 100% deserves to be there. But I think LaMelo and Fred VanVleet are probably going to take those 2 spots.
Yeah, and there are probably going to be replacements all throughout the lineup just because of the current state of the NBA and how people are just constantly having to miss games. But yeah, those are our all-star reserves. I don't know if there's anywhere else. I just wanted to give a quick PSA. Stop voting for Kyrie Irving, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, LaMarcus Aldridge, Carmelo Anthony, Klay Thompson. You can stop. None of them deserve it.
You can stop doing that.
I think they're at a point where, I mean, what is fan voting? What is it? 50%?
It's 50%. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's 50% unless the fans vote in, Kyrie Irving.
Well, yeah, like the coaches are going to give, like, I love Klay Thompson. I mean, he's on a team I don't like, but he's not going to get any votes from the coaches.
Right.
So like he's going to get out of there. So you're just throwing away your vote. I mean, it's kind of fun to have your favorite players there. I'm not going to lie. I vote for Colin Sexton when I vote for the guards just because I want Darius Garland to not have any competition. But yeah, I mean, it's just wasting your vote if you're only doing that.
Yeah. When is the All-Star game? What's the date for that?
I think it's like February 20th. But All-Star voting ends pretty soon.
All right, get your votes in while you can. It looks like LeBron is going to be the leading vote getter, barring anything crazy again. But hey, it just happened.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do once they get selected. One episode we'll do a draft.
That would be pretty fun.
Let's do it.
And real quick, the other front court player, I'm not going to really talk about him too much. The other front court player that I was mentioning is Miles Bridges.
Yeah.
I think if KD has to be replaced with the front court player, I think he's the one that's going to be there. But if he doesn't, I don't think the Hornets deserve 2 All-Stars more than the Cavs deserve 2 All-Stars. And it's kind of him versus Garland if it's just a normal spot. But yeah, he's putting up 20 points a game efficiently, and the Hornets are really fun. Him and LaMelo in the All-Star game would be really fun. So
yeah,
that's my other pick.
Yeah, I would probably go with him as well. He was the one I was kind of going back and forth on. But yeah, I think that's it for NFL playoffs, NBA All-Stars. We'll probably do a post definitely concerning the NFL playoffs and probably the All-Stars. So keep an eye out for that. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening, watching, however you ingested this podcast. We thank you a lot. Again, follow us on all of our social medias down below or on our Instagram, link in bio. And yeah, my name is Diego Sandoval. And for my co-host, Logan Ring, this was the World of Sports Podcast. We are signing off.
Signing off.